Welcome to Sports Geek, the podcast built for sports digital and sports business professionals. And now here's your host, who's still buzzing from the Australian Grand Prix, Sean Callanan.
I'm Sean Callanan, and welcome to episode 413 of Sports Geek. This week I chat with Sarah Dale. She is the head of global brand partnerships and entertainment at Binance. Thanks for listening. You might be doing so on your favourite podcast player. Mine remains Pocket Cast, but you can find the podcast on all platforms, and you can reach me, Sean Callanan, on social media. Sean Callanan on most platforms. You can reach me via email, sean@sportsgeekhq.com. Before we get stuck into this, did you know that this episode and this interview will be on our Sports Geek YouTube? That's right, in 2025, we're fired up and putting in some effort into the Sports Geek YouTube. You can find all the interviews there, as well as selected shorts. We're putting some of the back catalogue. So we're really putting some effort into YouTube this year. If you haven't checked it out, please do so. I'd love you to drop a subscribe. Our first goal is to try to get to 1,000 subscribers. If you could be one of them, please do so. Now, let's get into my chat where I caught up with Sarah Dale before the Australian Grand Prix to discuss Binance's forays into the world of sports sponsorship, including sponsoring Alpine F1. Very happy to welcome Sarah Dale. She's the head of global brand partnerships and entertainment at Binance. Sarah, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Sean. Thanks for having me.
Not a problem at all. What I always do in starting the podcast chat is I find out how people got their start in the world of sports. What about yourself? How did you find yourself in this, sports sponsorship adjacent role?
Yeah, so I've had an interesting journey, but I've been working in brand partnerships, sports and entertainment for about 20 years, not to age myself. But, I've always worked on the brand side, helping brands really bring their strategies to life through partnerships. And whether that was McDonald's or Molson Coors or T-Mobile or Pepsi or Hard Rock, there's been a great portfolio of brands, and I've worked with them as a marketeer as well as a lawyer supporting their partnership.
So that was the bit that was interesting when I looked at your background to sort of go, marketing and then in the law space, and obviously a big part of sponsorship is the contracts, right? It's like, hey, we do all the dance, and then we've got to come down to the contracts, and that's sort of what was the piece. Was that? When obviously having that background is very advantageous being in sponsorships, but did you just then find yourself wanting to be more in that brand side and working in that space?
Well, it's really funny because I started as a marketer on the marketing side and then went to law school and continued to focus on marketing law, and then ultimately was working on partnership deals, negotiations, contracting, fulfillment. And then I did decide, hey, I want to be back on that strategic brand side, building those partnerships, managing those partnerships. And so I've kind of come full circle, but there's not a day that I don't have my lawyer hat on. The skills are quite transferable. The reading, the writing, the negotiating, the analyzing, the evaluating, it's a lot of the same.
But again, like you said, there's a lot of people in the sponsorship space that are, either in pitch mode, either on the rights holder side or on the brand side, that are trying to get what they want, and then sometimes it gets handed over to lawyers. And so you at least have that multi-skill to go, well, I know what the legals would be, and what those clauses will be. That must be a big advantage for you in the role now.
Right, and I think that my legal team here at Binance and legal partners at other sides take full advantage of that. And I'd like to think I make their lives a little bit easier.
So your role now at Binance, explain what your role is and what your remit is there.
Yeah, so as head of our global brand partnerships, I not only am responsible for our global partners, but for helping our regional teams and their regional partnerships. And we leverage our partners to help us grow awareness, no surprise, but really to grow credibility, to drive education and ultimately adoption for the industry as well as Binance. And so it's a really powerful tool for us.
And from you, again, coming from a sponsorship background, was then you looking at, hey, what are the properties obviously we talk about the world of sport, but sports and entertainment that fit for that awareness piece and that education piece for you?
Right. So I think when we're looking for partners, we're looking for partners who share our user-focused mentality, who are focused on their fans and consumers, and who really share a belief in the power of crypto and in the benefits of crypto. And so it's really important that we're aligning with strategic partners that can believe in us, believe in our mission. And then ultimately, we're still looking for, the reach and engagement. Do they have an audience that we would not be able to tap into otherwise, right? Are there opportunities for us to have a mutual exchange of benefits? Can they help us drive growth, both from a brand and from a business perspective? And can we bring value to their organization and to their fans, whether that's through loyalty programs, whether that's through digital ownership, whether that's through personal, insights into personal preferences. There's so many ways that exchange of mutual benefits, and they have to be open to that as well. And last but not least, it has to be cost effective for us, right?
Yeah.
So.
I mean, that's the thing. With a lot of sponsorships, there is that that awareness piece, and that's there's ways to measure it, but then it's also that user acquisition piece to go, how do we onboard new people, and so is that how you're using sports partnerships and that at the moment to sort of educate those crypto curious, those people that are trying to figure out what they might do and go have a better understanding of why they might enter the market and dip their toe in the space?
100%. Binance is already the largest blockchain ecosystem in the world, right? So while awareness is great for us to continue to drive, we want to use our partnerships to drive that credibility and to drive that education. And so having, partners that help deliver on that is super, super important.
So we're recording this just to date the episode a week out, or a bit over a week out from the kickoff of the Formula One season here in my hometown of Melbourne. I'm really looking forward to going. I've already got my tickets, and you've got a partnership in the F1 space with BWT Alpine. Why Formula One?
So I think it's no surprise that there are some sports that have audiences that are predisposed to be open to the products and services that we provide. F1, football, for example, right? So those fans are already interested in fintech, in investing, in trading, in emerging technologies, in gaming. And so those audiences are more likely than not to be crypto curious and be open-minded and be interested in what we have to offer. And so that is an area that we are immediately drawn to, right? On the other hand, F1, similar to Binance, relies on innovation, performance, speed. And so there are a lot of shared synergies when we think about brand DNA across both F1 and Binance that we can really lean into to create authentic stories that help us drive education, credibility in a meaningful and entertaining way, hopefully.
And we've seen, partly credited to Drive to Survive, but the growth of F1 and how it has become a truly global property, and also further extension into the US market with more races. Was that something that the fact that it is become a global property and it has this event mentality of, we'll be in Melbourne and then we'll be in Vegas and, we'll still do all the traditional tracks, but you get that bump in all these different markets. Is that something that you look to both activate regionally with your partners?
We really do, even though it is a global partnership, which is important for us because as a global company, we like partners who transcend cultures, who transcend borders. So that is important to us. However, we really activate it at a regional level because, we are drawn to regions and markets where there is a clear regulatory framework, where use and adoption is really strong. And so we can fully, optimize that partnership activation and those rights and assets, and that we can maximize the return as a result.
And then the other thing you're saying about getting aligned values
it must have been really good when you started talking to Alpine to find out that, one of their drivers, Pierre, like you would call him, he's into crypto. He's a crypto native, and he's more than curious. He's in, and he's trying to figure out what he does. How to then, as a marketer, and you're like, well, this is amazing. How can we do something with him because he understands what I'm trying to do, and that education piece becomes a little bit easier.
Yeah, it is not often, even in my 20 years in partnerships, where you find a true brand fan, right? And when you do, you really want to lean into that. And it helps that Pierre is so easy and great to work with. So not only is he invested in crypto, is he interested in crypto, does he like to talk about crypto, but he's great to work with. And so we've leaned into that in the past with both content, with myth busting, which was super fun to work with him on, as well as a helmet takeover. So, which we're bringing back in Melbourne. So we did it in Abu Dhabi at the end of, gosh, my years are a blur, at the end of 2023. And we're going to bring it back for the start of this season. So, and that campaign, we've allowed, we ran a contest for our users to be able to design his helmet in Abu Dhabi and again in Melbourne. And a team, including Pierre, selected the winning design, which comes to life literally on the track.
And is that part of that is, one, we'll see the pictures of it and, hopefully see Pierre potentially, on the podium, potentially in Melbourne with that helmet. But it's also like not just a campaign for campaign's sake, but it also starts allowing you to use, crypto and blockchain and Web3. Like that's a big part of I've been someone that's, curious on the space, and it's always, what are the use cases? How do you do it? And that piece of how do you engage your users, of your product, across F1, is that the bit that's exciting to be able to go, hey, we're showing people actual use cases?
100%. And I should take a step back for a minute and say that, our marketing strategy is, so user focused. And we realize that the power of these blockchain and these Web3 technologies help build that credibility and that trust in the industry as a whole. And so our strategic partnerships from my role are really important to that, because we can build those use cases in a way that, people can really kind of get their minds and their arms around beyond trading and investing, right? Because we want to start with that education, and with that, take them on the journey go on the journey with them. And so when we are bringing them, these fans, closer to their favorite sports, to their favorite teams, to their favorite athletes than ever before, they start to realize, oh, there is something here, right? And so we're building that awareness, that education, that loyalty, that interest. And this is a really great way to do it, because who in the world would ever think that they would be able to design an F1 helmet that is worn in a Grand Prix, but you can, because of Binance.
And the piece you've been saying is, one, Binance is already a big company, and yes, brand awareness is great, but you're also sort of wanting to do it for the industry overall. And crypto is coming out of crypto winter, and sort of people are like, there's still that uncertainty for the people that might not understand the space. Does you feel that as a marketer that education piece and that piece is even more important now, and to sort of, again, build that trust and credibility with Binance, but also the overall industry?
Yeah, 100%. And to kind of put this into perspective, I think, like you noted, crypto is really coming into a new era, right? Not only from a micro level, but from a macro level. And I think there has been, an increase in regulation, institutional adoption. We're seeing more and more retail users. And so to kind of break that down into numbers, it took Binance in particular, 5 years to reach 100 million users. Just 2 more years after that, we've already had another 100 million users. And in that next single year, we're well on our way to another 100 million users. So the pace of adoption is, impressive, is on speed with other disruptors and innovative tech companies. And, through sports and entertainment, we can really support that in a more sustainable way through education and growing that adoption beyond the current pool of crypto users who are already obsessed, who already love crypto. We need to grow that if this is going to be a mainstream currency, right? And we're doing that through sports and entertainment.
And so then one of the other, one of the biggest names in sport is Cristiano Ronaldo. I mean, if you're going to shoot for the stars, you may as well go for one of the biggest ones. One, other than his gigantic social media and media presence, he launches a YouTube channel and immediately Mr. Beast is on it, and immediately Mr. Beast is worried about he's going to pass him. Like, that's the power of Cristiano Ronaldo's social media presence. Why? Why Cristiano Ronaldo, and then what has it been like, partnering with him on that journey of what you're trying to do?
It has been, he's great. The partnership is great. And so I think going back to our filters and how we approach partners, he fits them 100%, right? So he is extremely passionate and prioritizes his community, and he's focused on his fan base, and his fan base is quite large. And football is another area that we see audiences who over-index in their love for, or in their interest for, fintech, for trading, for investing, for gaming, right? And so when we came together with Cristiano, there was a mutual interest in, bringing benefits to his fans, into leveraging his audience to educate them on the power of Web3, on blockchain, and to create meaningful engagement for them. And how we did that was through his digital NFT collection, correct? Right. So, but it's more than art. And I don't know if you've had time to look through it, but we've had five drops actually. And those not only represent, pivotal moments in his personal and professional life through the art, but they also come with these really great real benefits. And those real benefits are bringing his fans closer to him, or closer to exclusive merchandise, games, playing, training with him, celebrating with him, playing football with him. And so through those digital assets that his fans are purchasing, or through, being a user at Binance, they're able to meet the greatest football player of all time. And we stand by that he is. So it's been a great experience working with him. He is so professional on and off the pitch, and he gets so excited when he is with his fans that we get to bring him. It's quite heartwarming.
I mean, again, because of the scale and the enormity of his audience, like for him, he announces he's doing something, it's automatically sold out. It's, a shopping center shuts down. Like, that's what he does. So like that whole loyalty play, and it's something that, we've played in the space, I think 10 years ago, we did an early digital loyalty piece and assisted the 49ers in doing it. It has been something that sports has, tried to figure out, how to both gamify and also, gamify fandom to a certain degree, but then also how do you make sure that the fan with the most fandom, or the fan that shows the most fandom, actually gets access to that piece, and not just, yes, you can do it by paying the highest price, and that's why you get the ticket to the big event, but like, how do you identify some of those fans? And is that the piece that, I guess, because I think, that early NFT was, hey, we're buying the art and the numbers are going bananas and we're not quite sure what it is. But do you think it is that tying to the physical world, whether they be, merch access or access to specific content, or even, the holy grail of, meeting or, meeting him in person? Do you think that's been some of the tweaks that have happened from that, I guess, what we'd maybe call NFT version 1, where it was, people buying art and not quite knowing and very speculative?
Right, exactly. And I would like to say that even from drop 1 for us, when NFTs were still in their heyday, we really did lean into that real benefit of bringing the fans to Cristiano. And so we always wanted this to be more than a digital, asset. We always wanted to provide that real benefit so that we could lower the, get more people interested, get more people involved, and educate them. And to your point, our collections have always provided a different dynamic to access to him. So whether it was purchasing or whether it was collecting and, kind of building on your momentum to get closer to him, whether it was that exclusive content or whether it was the exclusive merchandise. So we've tried to create many ways and many utilities to provide greater access to. So it's not just, someone who's willing to pay a lot of money for an NFT, right? In fact, some of the people that we brought to meet Cristiano haven't paid a thing. They've won, right? Or they've shown their loyalty through collecting over the course of many collections, or they've taken a test on their fandom for Cristiano and they've won. So we really have tried to lower the barrier of entry and increase the exposure to Cristiano through these digital assets. So it starts with the digital asset, but there's so much more there.
So what excites you about what you're doing in this space, especially in the Web3 space, as it's starting to, like I said, mature, more use cases are coming on board. We're going to start seeing more, use cases where it gets integrated with events and, or you'll have a digital asset and you'll be at an event like the Australian Open and, you'll be able to scan that and that will get you different access. There's so many different use cases and I guess exciting possibilities. Is that something that excites you going forward and what you can do in the space?
Yeah, I think it's really exciting to see that there are more reputable players joining the space. And as a result of that, there is more trust in crypto companies and there's more openness for more creative integrations, right? More integrations in general, more creative integrations in particular. And so I think as we see that, not only for Binance, but for others, it's really exciting because as we see more and more use cases, like you say, I think that education will grow, the power of Web3 will grow. And so I think it's exciting to think about what we haven't even seen yet and what is to come, right? So through that education and through that engagement on both sides, because I will say the properties and the organizations are also getting more sophisticated with how they understand what they can do with us, whether it's those fan engagement programs, those loyalty programs, leaning into the ways they're engaging with their fans is super exciting.
So how does the sponsorship and the legal version of yourself reconcile this new world where stuff has not yet been invented, but you're going to be in partnerships that are locked in for a certain time? But it's like this tech and the ability to do things keeps changing. The lawyer in you says, "Oh, I have to lock it all down and button it all up," but the marketer in you says, "This is really exciting." So how do you deal with that?
I think I'm pretty good at drafting broad categories, But I think you raise another point, and that is that our industry requires some flexibility on the part of our partners, right? So we don't have marketing plans set for the next 3 years. We don't know what's going to happen in the next 3 years. So we require, and we hope that it's not the same. We hope that we innovate and that there's new technologies and there's new possibilities. So we require some flexibility to be built into those agreements. And it's not because we're going anywhere. It's because we're going so many places. So I think it requires some flexibility to be built into that. So we have the room to anticipate and to build together.
Because, I think it is really important. Like a lot of the time I'm talking with someone on brand side and, they're trying to get the deal done. And, then it becomes this laundry list of deliverables and they're getting ticked off. But it's like if it gets too restrictive and too list driven, then you miss that innovation or you miss that really cool opportunity to say, oh, actually, there's an opportunity in this market to do this cool thing with this thing and it would work for us. And, the damn lawyers get involved and it's like, it doesn't happen. So it's like, it's good to hear from your side, from a brand side to say, hey, you want that flexibility as well.
Right. And I think that's where the importance of finding partners who believe in us, who believe in the future of Web3, of blockchain, of crypto is so important because there's a mutual interest in going to those places together, even if it isn't in those four corners of that agreement. And so that's, it's a partnership, it's a mutual partnership and everyone's best interests are in kind of evolving together.
So you're going to head down to Melbourne. What are you looking forward to for the first Grand Prix of the season?
I'm super excited for our next reveal with Pierre. So you will see that take place on the ground, on the track. We have a lot of activations planned socially. We have our first Binance Melbourne meetup in years taking place. So we'll make sure that you get an invitation to that. We're hosting lots of our VIP and community members. It's a week full of activities, so I'm really excited.
And especially when you've got an Aussie in the car with Jack Doohan, he will be one of the stars of the show. So it'll work out quite well.
It will. Well, there's a lot of magic happening in Melbourne for us that I can't fully share, but it's the perfect storm of Pierre and Jack and the first race.
Well, everyone will be listening to this afterwards, so you can tell me now. It won't go anywhere, but this will be afterwards, and hopefully I will catch up with you when you are in Melbourne. I'm really looking forward to seeing. Have you been to Melbourne before?
I haven't, so that's why I'm even more excited, because I've never been to Australia. I've never been to Melbourne. I'm ready.
Oh, well, I'm happy to send you all the recommendations. I don't need to send any coffee recommendations. It's the best coffee in the world. So once you do, if you're a bit jet lagged, just get yourself a coffee and you'll be fine. But the Australian Grand Prix Corporation do a terrific job. So it'll be a terrific event, and it's back where it started, back at the start of the season, which is what we like. I think it was sold out in a couple of days. So there'll be 400,000 people joining you in Melbourne for the Grand Prix. So it will be amazing. Sarah, I want to get to the Sports Geek Closing Five. I always like asking people a few weird questions, but that's all right. Do you remember the first sports event you ever attended?
I do. I grew up in Kansas City, so I have been a Kansas City Chiefs fan long before they were winning Super Bowls. And okay. I would say, yeah. So I would say that is the first event that I remember, because we grew up going to Kansas City Chiefs games and the Royals, but I remember the Chiefs games more.
I haven't been to a Chiefs game in Arrowhead. I was at the last two Super Bowls, so I have seen Patrick Mahomes in action, and he is a phenomenal player. But I have also been to a Royals game, which is just a short way away, and that's a beautiful ballpark. So Arrowhead would be definitely an experience.
It is. Kansas City's a great sports town.
Yes, it definitely is. You would have been to a lot of different sports events in your time. Do you have a go-to food or a favorite food memory at a sports event?
Are we allowed to say beer?
Beer, beer is a food group here, and you'll be welcome with open arms in Australia with that answer. Beer is definitely an answer. No, I don't think anyone's actually said it, but you are the first, and I will happily join you for beer at the Grand Prix. So
yes, let's do that.
We'll book that in. Being in a global role, and here I am talking to you from Melbourne, and you're in a different part of the world. What's the first app you open in the morning?
So I'm a little bit embarrassed to say this, but it does cover a lot of bases, and that is Instagram, because it covers news, it covers current events, it covers my friends, my family. I pop that open and I get a good glimpse.
That's fine. There's people who hang their heads in shame and say they open email. So Instagram is better than saying, hey, I open my email first thing in the morning. So I've had more shameful answers where people have said, yeah, I checked my email. Sorry. I also want to know, is there someone that you follow? It might be someone on social media. It might be someone that's an author or a podcaster that you follow that other people should follow. Why?
Well, I have to give a plug for everyone to follow Binance, of course. I think if you follow Binance, if you follow Richard, if you follow Rachel, I think you will not only be caught up with our business, but the industry. And we provide a lot of Binance news and industry insights all the time.
Terrific. Now, you may have spoiled this answer with your answer before, but that's okay. We run it back. And you can answer this both personally and then maybe from a Binance point of view. But what social media platform is your MVP?
Well, okay, so I'm glad you caveated that with the personally, it is Instagram. So I did give that away earlier. But I think from a Binance and industry perspective, X is still a primary source.
It's still holding on for dear life in the crypto space. The crypto community on X is still one of the active communities. They're they're the last ones in, waiting for the lights to be turned off.
There's a lot going on there.
I think there's crypto Twitter, and there's NBA Twitter, and then there's a few sports Twitter, football Twitter, and then that's it. Like a lot of people are left, but there's still those really hardcore communities of really big fandom that are still there, and so you can be a consumer. And obviously crypto Twitter is one of those. I still can't call it X. Sorry.
I know. Honestly, neither can I, but I try to be proper. But yes, as long as our community is there, we will be where they are.
I always ask people at the end of the podcast, where can people who've listened to the podcast follow you, send you a thank you, appreciate the insights you've given to the space. What is the best platform for people to do that?
LinkedIn. I love LinkedIn too. Besides Instagram, I love LinkedIn. I think this is a small world, and LinkedIn makes it even smaller.
Definitely, and it does show all the different connections and the different ways that you are connected. I'm obviously a big advocate for LinkedIn, so we'll have links to your LinkedIn in the show notes, as well as all the socials for Binance. Like I said, recording this before the Grand Prix, so hopefully we will catch up when you're in Melbourne and enjoy a terrific Grand Prix.
Yes, thank you so much.
Do you need help to connect your sponsors with your fans? Book a Pick My Brain session with Sean Callanan to ideate on campaign ideas that your sponsor and fans will love. Book now at sportsgeekhq.com/pickmybrain.
Thanks again to Sarah Dahl. Really enjoyed catching up with her. You can connect with her on LinkedIn and let her know that you listened to the episode. Please, as always, say thank you if you do. I really do appreciate when I see listeners connecting with guests. You can find out all about this episode at sportsgeekhq.com/413. We'll link to some of the activations that Sarah discussed, Pierre Gasly's helmet and the things that they did in Melbourne. I am recording this after, I caught up with Sarah before the Grand Prix. Melbourne absolutely delivered 465,498 fans attending over the 4 days for a record crowd. It was great to see teams like Alpine activating across the city in the lead up. There was a new fan zone in the Melbourne, in the Australian Open precinct and next to Rod Laver Arena at Melbourne Park Oval. So again, similar to the Australian Open, the F1's footprint's getting bigger. And definitely one thing that did make an appearance in Melbourne was the weather. It was 37 Celsius, so very hot for my US friends on Saturday, and then on Sunday it rained, so the whole track was mud. So it made for an eventful day. It made for an eventful race. It was an exciting race. We really enjoyed it. We were in the lakeside carousel area and sitting in the Brabham stand. We really enjoyed it. Obviously, there's some challenges there when you get over 100,000 people every day in trying to get some shade and cover and the ability to get inside the track over the bridges. But overall, the Grand Prix was a great success. It was a pity that Aussie Jack Doohan's debut Aussie race wasn't the best, but he did show some promising signs in qualifying. Thanks again to Sarah for giving us insights into the world of F1, but also why and how sponsors activate in the space, much like Annalise did with UBS Arena, UBS Bank, and the work that they've done with Mercedes. We'll link to that episode in the show notes as well. We have got some more F1 guests to come, so stay tuned. Thank you very much for listening. Until next episode, my name is Sean Callanan, and you've been listening to Sports Geek.
Thanks again for listening. If you loved this episode, please leave a review or rating. Don't forget, you can now watch interviews on the Sports Geek YouTube channel. We're here to help our podcast listeners improve. Please get in touch and see how we can collaborate. Go to sportsgeekhq.com/phone call. All Sports Geek episodes are just a click away at sportsgeekhq.com.